And we're streaming live. So, welcome to episode 1.5 or 1.5 of the Beerumverate. Earlier today, I was on with Keith, and we have the third person in the Beerumverate, which is Evan, the stand user. Welcome, Evan.
Thanks for having me on. If anyone listened to the first episode, then I was often mentioned and trashed several times.
I did try to defend you a little bit. I said, it's
Oh no, it's fine because I figured it's like that's kind of the whole point. I'm going to be on. It's not like friends talking behind one of their friends' back when he's going to the bathroom and he gets back and you go like,
shh, keep
shut
it.
the comments.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, so it's been about 12 hours for me. It was 11 a.m. When Keith and I did this. It's now 11 p.m. Here in Vegas.
Oh yeah, it's the same day for you.
It is
That's
yeah, it is the same day. Basically, so like him and I started, and I was drinking coffee, and then like towards the end, I had one beer. My wife got off work. She put on Family Guy. I watched some Family Guy, and she was doing some homework for her classes. And I took a nap on the couch. I woke up, played some Octopath, and pretty much brings me to here.
Yeah, I saw your name pop up online when I was playing.
Yeah, I saw that you were on, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna jump on this too.
Yeah, getting to the end there.
Yeah, you've got what 65 or 70 hours into it.
I'm 70 in right now, yeah. But I will say, I have a habit of just like putting the controller down and just keeping a game on while I like make dinner or play or listen to music in the other room or doing chores and stuff. And I just
Right.
kind of, I'm guessing there's a good like, there actually might be like 5 or 6 hours of idle time there over the course of me playing. So
Okay.
probably around 65 maybe.
I
I have
f-
like, go ahead.
well, I was gonna say I think I'm at like the 30-hour mark on the Nintendo Switch timer, but my save game is only about 24 hours because I've spent probably 6 hours trying to beat Tressa's Chapter 2 boss, and it's no avail.
Huh, I wonder. I never had a problem with that boss. I don't even remember which one it was because I must have I don't know what I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just
Um,
slightly under leveled or
no, so the recommended level is 22. All of my characters are like level 28.
okay. Yeah, some of those recommend especially with bosses, some of those recommended levels are a bit deceiving because sometimes they're way too easy and a bit inconsistent and
Yeah,
sometimes they're hard.
because I,
So,
I think Ophelia's chapter 2, the recommended level is 23 or 24.
mm,
And I felt like, well, I'm probably under leveled for this, but I jammed through that boss like
yeah,
without
some
a
bosses are
problem.
really easy, some take like 35 minutes to beat. Very
Cyrus's
strange.
chapter 2 boss wasn't too difficult either. It was just a long battle. It took me probably an hour to get through that damn guy because of his
Yeah.
HP.
And like can Nintendo just not do anything normal? It's like you've played six. They should just put like ish on the end of every
It's
number. Like
ish.
60-ish hours. Let's not get it down to the hour. There's a
No,
timer there. It's monitoring your time. Like just put 62 or 63 or whatever it is. But
no, it's
we'll
20
put
or more, or 25 or more, or
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
But anyways, yeah. I've done. I finished 4 stories.
Oh wow, okay.
Oberon. I just finished Ophelia's. I finished Cyrus's, and one more, and now
Primrose.
I'm. Oh yes, I finished hers, and
Yeah.
then now I'm right on Hanit. I don't know how you pronounce her name.
I say Haunted, but I haven't
Hanit.
played enough of her stuff to hear enough characters pronounce her name. So
Yeah. So I'm about to wrap her story up. So I only got a couple more to go, and then I guess there's an optional dun dungeon or cave or whatever you want to call it.
well,
But I heard you have to like meet some specific requirements in order to
don't
actually
you?
go there. I'm not sure what that is.
Okay, so like this is spoiler territory. We should probably preface by saying that. So there's the secondary classes that you can get for all the characters, right?
Yeah, I have
Is
one
isn't
so far.
there? Okay, well, so there's the all the job classes, like the 8 job classes that you can get, and
Yep.
then you can dual class with the characters, and then there's what 4 like advanced classes that you can get.
Yes. Yeah, there's
So
the War Master, the Rune Lord, the Star Seer, and the Sorcerer,
no,
I guess.
sorcerer is a regular one, isn't it?
Then it's whatever the second level of that is. Basically, I mean, I don't even know if this is really a spoiler. I guess it kind of. Some people might think it is. It's a
I
badass. It's a badass job because basically what it does is gives. I have Cyrus as the sorcerer,
right.
um, because he is anyways. But what it does is it gives you access to every single type of magic,
Okay.
and each um, and you can attack 3 times with it instead of two.
Oh, all right, okay. So you've got like blizzard and the or like Icewind and then Blizzard and then there's another one. So it's kind of like Fira, Firaga, Fira,
Yeah.
whatever. Okay,
So basically, it's like the
it's
yeah,
like
it's
Final
like
Fantasy.
Fundaga, Blizzaga,
Yeah,
Firaga. Then there's Windaga. I don't know what it's called.
right,
And then light, like the light spell and the dark spell. So it's all of them in one person's job, which is nice because
okay,
then you don't have to. You can pretty much break. Well, you can not pretty much. You can break any enemy's um, shield and actually really quickly because you hit him 3 times with each spell. So
right.
it's really good. It's actually made the end game bosses really easy, but
There,
I'm over leveled anyways. I'm like the requirements for chapter 4s are 40 level 45, and most of my guys are like level 60. So
oh wow, okay. That actually doesn't seem that high because chapter threes are the chapter threes levels are like 35 or 34 or something. Is what I'm seeing.
yeah, and I mean I didn't really grind that much. Pretty much if you just first clear out all the chapter 1s, then the 2s, then the 3s, by the time you get to 4, you're gonna be pretty high anyways.
Yeah, but when
Uh,
you all right, so when you first started in the game and you hit like the 18-hour mark, that's when I was like, oh shit, like I just have to spend time doing random battles because I'm not ready for any of these chapter twos.
okay. I guess there was a time where I did grind for quite a bit, but that was only to get job points because I went to all the job shrines
Right,
because I was starting to get slightly not bored, but just kind of feeling the grind a bit just with the battle system, and I was felt like I was slowing down. And then once I got all the job when or I was able to switch jobs, then it got more interesting. I'm like, oh, this is way better because each of your characters can immediately become more versatile, and then you
right.
have to get job points into that, and then you can put um, the special skills from different classes onto them, and you can really start playing around with these characters and making them uh, as you want. Or like once you pick the 4 skills, and then these 2 jobs put together on this character like really makes them OP. It's kind of nice to play around with that stuff. So I quite
Y-
enjoyed that.
yeah, definitely. Um, what?
Which is weird because I hate Final Fantasy V. I thought the job system in that game was super fucking grindy.
It yeah, it was. I've never actually played through all of five.
Mm.
I don't know. Have
Yeah,
you?
the end of that game got way grindier than this, and I thought from then on I'm like I hate job systems. It's just an added level of grind. But the job system in 5 was not as versatile, like fun to play around with, and like versatile as this game. I mean
Right.
that's not really fair because this game came out in 2018, so they had a lot of
A lot of
history to look
time,
at
yeah.
to figure out what to do. But I like it. I like it. I mean, I've been playing it for 70 hours, and I'm going to finish all the chapters. So I think not the job system, sorry, the battle system rather, is what's keeping me going on the game. And I just think it's like one of my favorite turn-based battle systems in a long time. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, I well, okay, so like in most JRPGs, you
Do you
end
wanna
up.
do you wanna crack a beer? I'm kind of like eyeing this
I
beer next to me.
Yeah,
What?
I've been drinking
Oh,
beer.
oh really? Oh shit! Why did I wait? What was that? Like I have to wait. All right.
We are now 10 minutes into
Episode of Kirby
this.
Enthusiasm where Larry David's sitting with the fan, and like his food comes first. And he's like, "Food, right?" But like he's like really hungry, and like, and then the camera zooms in, and you see like the look on Larry David's face, and then it cuts to the next day, and he's like, "I can't believe you started eating before your guest's food got there." He's like, "I was hungry."
Oh my god, I need to go back. That's Curb Your Enthusiasm, right?
Yeah, yeah, I love that show. I've actually been going back and watching Seinfeld, which I actually haven't seen in a long, long time. Like I started way
Yeah,
back in the first season, and I forgot so much.
there's a lot of like really good episodes in the early seasons.
Yeah.
That's
So yeah,
funny. I tried to get my wife to watch Seinfeld, but she's just not into it. She's like, I
I
don't get it.
I tried to get my wife into watching Seinfeld, and she doesn't get it
It's well,
for different reasons.
yeah,
It's total cultural stuff. Yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say it's kind of hard if you, yeah. There's a lot of stuff that's just you almost have to be an American to understand some of the stuff that they talk about.
Well, it's social commentary on the
What was
states.
happening at the time in the 90s and whatnot. Yeah.
So trying to explain some of that stuff too. It's like I have to like pause it like every 5 seconds and explain to my wife like this. Okay, in Japan it's like this. In America, this is like considered kind of like a faux pas. Yeah, it's like it's not worth it. Every
So,
episode would take like an hour to watch.
have you tried to get her to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm too?
No, I haven't. I think she'd need to have subtitles, Japanese subtitles, because it
Okay.
just some of the language is just a bit too complex, and I think it's just a lot of stuff is not only lost in translation, but it's just you wouldn't be able to pick up certain things. So
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. What the hell's the Jewish New Year? What's it called?
oh shit, Hanukkah.
No, that's
Oh, you said New Year.
yeah. The Jewish New Year is Rosh Hashanah,
Okay,
and
there
it
you go.
ends with Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Repentance. And there is a coworker of mine. He's a singer, and he does like opera and stuff. But every year he has a gig at the one of the local temples here, and so he sings like in the choir and stuff for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And
Okay.
we were joking. Did you ever see the episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where the guy is scalping tickets for Yom Kippur?
Yeah, I have. I don't remember the specifics about it, but yeah.
It's a real thing. Like the tickets are like $320 to get into this thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Well, high demand. So
yeah, it's like the only day that non-observing Jews go to a temple. You know,
right, right.
it's kind of like Christmas or New Year or whatever for Catholics, right? Or Easter.
Yeah. Well, sell it for what the market will bear, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so what beer are you drinking?
Sorry. Oh, I am drinking. Uh, let's see. Let's
Sapporo.
get this in here. Yeah, Sapporo Black Label. This is one of my favorite of like the big four beers. So you got Asahi, Suntory, Sapporo, and Kirin or Kirin, whatever
Right.
you wanna say. And each of the big four have like their base beer. Like I don't know Miller. When I say Miller, what beer do you think of?
I think of High Life, but Genuine Draft is like the other,
Sure. So
regular.
basically, yeah, like this beer is like the MGD or the High Life of the company's beers.
Right, right.
Um, so
Or the Pabst Blue Ribbon, right?
right, yeah. So there's a second tier of cheaper beer in Japan called Habboshu, and it just has to do with the tax. They worked around this way to get because the beer tax in Japan is pretty crazy, so they worked around. It's what they put in the beer. I don't know. There's specific things that they do so they're able to get uh, have less tax per can on beer, so they can sell it cheaper. I used to buy that stuff, and then I applied for a new job like earlier this year, and I was like, if I get this job, I'm not going back to the cheaper
To the
stuff.
cheapest shit.
So I got the job, and then I started buying this but it's expensive. It's like it's not like Miller Lite MGD High Life prices. This shit is like probably about like ten bucks for a 6 pack.
Wow, that is
But
expensive.
that's how expensive even like the regular beer like Super Dry, Asahi Super Dry.
Right.
That's 10 bucks for a 6 pack. Just the tax on a per can of beer is ridiculous here. So that's just what you pay even for like your average, just your basic like Pilsner.
Okay.
But yeah, so this is a Pilsner. It's light. Basically like the Germans came to Japan and like taught them how to brew
Brew beer.
Pilsner.
Yeah.
And then it was just like Japan's like, all right, we're good with anything else. We're just all going to make Pilsner. So like all the big four beers are all the same kind of beer.
Well,
It's like
that's the
head
same
scratching to me. I
same
guess you're right.
same in the U.S. But
Yeah,
mainly because of prohibition, right? So
sure.
prohibition happened, and you had basically three or four companies that were able to survive that 10-year period and
Right.
be able to start brewing beer again, and it was the German style Pilsner, right? Just your
Yep.
everyday lager.
Yeah, so this is Black Label. This is my beer of choice. Actually, one reason I drink Sapporo over any of the other companies is just because uh, back well, it's in Hokkaido, the northern island of Japan,
Okay.
and Hokkaido is basically like the Wisconsin of Japan. It's Hokkaido's famous for beer, uh, farmland, like and producing like milk and cheese.
Nice. Okay.
So, and not only that, actually, Milwaukee and Sapporo are on the exact same latitude, the 43rd latitude.
I think you've told me this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when I met my father-in-law, and I said, he's like, oh, initially, is it where are you from? I'm from Milwaukee. And Milwaukee, Munchen, which they say for Munich. So, Milwaukee, Munich, Sapporo. And I was like, what's that? He's like, oh, there's like an old ad back in the 70s
Where they
where
talked about how
Sapporo was.
all three of those were on the same.
Yeah, yeah. I guess they cheated a little bit with Munich, but
It's close
it's like
enough.
slightly higher, I think. But Milwaukee and Sapporo are on the same latitude, so there's that's it's like the thinnest of connections, and
Right.
that's what led me to start buying this beer. But they also make a one. It's actually harder to get, and you can usually only find it in 600 milliliter bottles. It's called Akaboshi, which just means red star.
Okay.
And it's got this cool, like, I want to say like 1960s or 70s logo on it, and they just have never changed the logo. If you can find that, like, that's better than the black label. But
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
this is my go-to kind of like everyday
Nice.
beers.
Well, obviously PBR is my, my what I call my daily drinker, right?
When I went back to the States, I had a lot of PBR.
Well, yeah, they're still doing these cans with the
That is
Japanese.
so crazy. Yeah, I
I
think I did like a triple take when I saw it. I was like, are you kidding me?
Right.
This is some
So
alternate universe.
the week that you came out to the States was the week that they released these cans, or at least the first week that I saw them in stores, right?
Right.
Um, I will have to find the video again and send it to you, but it's based on this artist's work, and that was how they got the idea to do the cans this way. So anyway, I'll post it maybe in the notes for this video if I can find it, and then I'll send a link to you so you can check it out. But it was pretty interesting, just talking about like he's a street artist, like a graffiti artist.
Right.
And so yeah, that was how the whole Japanese can thing came about.
Yeah, it's really random, but cool nonetheless.
Yeah. So we should delve into if you have any police stories like Heath and I had.
Are you talking about like my run-ins with the police?
Just in general, I guess.
Oh,
His was pretty tame. His was basically calling the bobbies on a lady that was too drunk to drive,
that's right. I did.
which they called drink driving. I was like, I had to do a double
Oh,
take.
yeah,
I was like,
I
what?
knew
I
that.
was like, do
He,
you
he
mean?
actually kind of skirted over when you asked him. He didn't know. He didn't know the question you asked him. He didn't because he probably didn't know. Maybe we call it drunk driving.
Yeah, well, that's what I asked him. I was like, "Do you mean drunk driving?" And he's like, "Yeah, drink driving.
It's
She
just
was drunk."
it sounds wrong.
It does, right?
Yeah. Um. Okay, I have one story. I've never actually had run-ins with the cops. I've actually never got a ticket
Nice. Well,
ever.
that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah. Um. So in Kyoto, there's a drink kind of nightlife drinking area called Kiyamachi that
Okay.
I used to go to a lot. It's just like where all the bars are. There's a couple clubs there. All the university kids go and hang out. Lots of foreigners go and hang out there to drink. You can kind of just bar hop around. Although they don't really have bars in the same sense that we do in the States.
Okay.
It's more like you sit down and like eat somewhere and then get like all you can drink uh, order the all you can drink menu off the all you can drink menu, and you can just drink however much you want for like 2 hours.
Right, which
So I was doing
I think we
that.
should do that here. That's a great idea.
It is a good idea. I think it's a great idea for Japan. I don't think it's a good idea for, let's just say, England or the States. If it was like, okay, all you can drink menus open to all restaurants, and then it like the movie cuts and it says 15 minutes later, and then there's like a helicopter view of like just like fires and like smoke and shit, like, I would never trust anyone, a lot of people, to be able to handle basically all you can drink for like 2.5 hours or 2 hours. Um, I've I barely trust myself, but I've gotten better at it. But anyways, I don't go to that because I'm 33 now. I don't go to Kiyamachi anymore. It's just not my thing.
Is it more geared towards people like in their 20s?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And you start feeling your age, and you're like, you know what? I I'm happy to actually, because a lot of good craft beer restaurants and bars have been opening up in Kyoto.
Right.
Like in the past couple of years, like it's been pretty quick, and they keep popping up. So it's getting people are starting to get into their craft beer, and now all these, at least entrepreneurs and stuff who are thinking about opening up chains and stuff, they start realizing like, oh, there's money to be made, um, selling craft beer, which is nice. But then I started going to these places. It's a bit way more expensive, but I'm like, I remember I remember the place I was in. It was called Before Nine. I was with my friend Simon,
Okay.
and we were probably like 4 hours into drinking. I'm like, you know what, Simon? Like, because he and I used to go to Kiyamachi all the time. I'm like, I think I'm done with Kiyamachi. I think I'm just happy to just sit in places like this and just have a couple craft, like, pay too much money for craft beers. He's like, yeah, I think you're right. But anyways, back to my police story. This is when I was younger, in my 20s, and we were in Kiyamachi. We were standing outside a convenience store called Lawson, which actually originated in Ohio. It was it was like a corner store, and then
Okay.
some company bought the name, and now it's like one of the biggest chains in Japan.
Interesting. All right.
But anyways, sitting outside, and all of a sudden, I just see this guy run across the street, white guy. I don't know where he's from. Followed by a guy with no shirt on, chasing him.
Okay.
Both white. I don't know where they're from. And the guy's like, "Get away from me! Oh, come here!" And the guy like threw his beer down in the middle of the road and ran into the Lawson. And then the guy who was chasing, who had he had no shirt on, picked his beer up from the road and just like chugged a bunch of it and just like slammed it down. And then he goes into the Lawson too.
I can't
I
take
just
this in with me, even though I'm chasing this random ass dude.
And well, at first I'm just like, you fucking assholes! Like now, all the Japanese people that come across this situation, you're just giving foreigners a bad name in Japan.
Right.
We're loud, and when we drink, we fight, and blah blah blah. So, but he follows him into the Lawson, and I'm just kind of like looking like that's probably not going to end well. But I did not feel like going in there and doing anything about it. But there were some people in there anyways, and they kind of broke it up. So, okay, so someone calls the cops. Cops come, and they're trying to make sense of the whole thing. They break them up, and I said, actually, I saw what happened. I was standing outside this Lawson, and the cop's like, oh, okay, do you speak Japanese? It's like, well, yeah, I'm
Right.
speaking to you in Japanese now, but whatever. So I told him what happened, and he's like, okay, and I'm like Bill Burr, like I hate giving out any of my personal information. I just like, what's your number? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, you don't need my number.
Okay.
I don't want your point card. But the cop's like, oh, could I get your name and number and address? And I was like, how about no?
Okay.
He was like, oh, okay. I was like, I knew it. Everyone gives their fucking information. All you have to do is say no, and then they don't push it any further.
All
right. So I guess they pulled the two guys away before anyone got into a fight, or they destroyed the Lawson. Yeah, that's my story. It's not all that exciting, but I think that was the only time I talked to the cops in Japan to explain something that I saw. I helped an old drunk Japanese guy off the road the other day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was running. I was going for a run, and I was coming back, and it's down this small alley. There's a university student coming, or at least I think he was in his 20s, coming the opposite way, and there's an old man with a cane. There's like a big pole in front of him, and he just like hits the pole. Ah! Just completely falls on his back, and he was old, like
90s. 70s.
I want to say 80.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
75, 80. Like, it's the type of fall like he could have broken his leg or something, right? Even though it was kind of like it was a very comically slow fall. It took forever, but it's fair enough. He hit the ground.
Oh my god.
And then the first thing is like me and the university student look at each other. I'm like, so I take my headphones out, run up to him, like, hey, are you okay? And he fucking reeked of alcohol.
Right.
I was like, well, at first I thought he was just old, and he's because he had a cane, maybe he like slipped or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And he just reeked, and he's like, ugh, and he's like muttering something, and I told the university student, I was like, all right, let's do 3, 2, 1, and got under his arms, pulled him up. He had his cane, and he's like holding the pole. We're like, sir, are you okay? Did you hurt yourself?
Right.
Are you in pain anywhere? And he's like, oh, thank you. I was like, are you okay? Where do you live? He's like, thank you. And then right next to the pole, there was just like an apartment building, like an opening. And he's like, thank you. And then he just turns left and starts going to this apartment building. I'm like, wait, do you live here? Or are you just going to like the closest fucking door you see?
Oh my god.
So he keeps walking. I'm like, excuse me, sir, is this your place of residence? And I look at the university student. I'm like, what should we do? And he's like, I don't know. I was like, I'm going to go in and check. So I went into the apartment building. Luckily, it was the first floor, and it was kind of like an alcove where just like there's doors to the apartments, like in a square.
Okay.
So there was no like locked door or anything, right? So I go in, and he's just kind of like slowly walking. Oh, thank you. And he just like opened one of the doors and went in. I'm like, I assume he lives there.
Just gonna let it go.
I'm just gonna let it go.
Right.
And so I kind of leaned out to the university student. I was like, oh, he went in one of the apartments. It's probably okay. Thanks. He's like, okay. And then that was the end of it. Very strange.
Oh my god. I had that whole scenario playing in my head while you were telling it. It was very entertaining.
Dude, it was so fucking funny. He's just like, thank you, and then just turned left into the apartment. Like, whoa, dude, you live there?
Man.
Yeah, so that's some recent stories. Do you have any more, or are you just gonna cut yours for the day?
Well, the two that I shared with Keith, those are the only two like interesting police stories, I guess, that I have.
I have a couple others. They did not happen to me. They happened to my friends when they were younger, but we can always leave that for another time.
Yeah. I will say though, like in terms of like you were saying, the old man like comically hit the pole and fell over slow. I can remember a time in high school when we were sitting waiting for the bus, and there was a guy that like was crossing the street on a red light, so it was green going this way, right?
Okay.
And the car just like turned the corner and totally didn't see him, and it was just like, ugh!
Oh.
And of course we're sitting at the bus stop like across the street. We're like, holy shit, did that just happen? Did that guy just get hit? You know?
What did it sound like? What did it sound like? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like the car wasn't going that fast because it was turning like a right corner, right? So it was like turning right down the road, and then like a little bit of screech on the tires, and then he was like, ugh! like he got the wind knocked out of him and then hit the pavement, and I don't know how to describe the sound of what a body sounds like hitting pavement, but he was on the ground for a minute, and then like somebody called, an ambulance or whatever, and then the cops showed up and everything. But the guy like got up and he's like, "No, no, I'm fine," and like tried to walk away, and of course the paramedics like, "No, no, you're in shock right now. Like you cannot leave."
Yeah, like, you don't know what hurts yet.
Right, exactly.
It's like wait 20 minutes after you, or like if you feel full, wait. You get mowed down. Just sit down, wait 20 minutes, and tell
Right.
me if like your fucking ankle hurts or. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone get hit by a car. There's something about that. Like I can't. I'm not squeamish really, but
Well, there's
uh,
there's no blood or anything. Like he,
right.
you know, thank God it wasn't like somebody getting hit and dying. Like that would have
Right.
been traumatic, and I wouldn't share that story.
Yeah.
So,
I fell off my bike once. I was going down a hill drunk, and I scraped my face up. That's about it.
all right. So that brings us to around the 30-minute mark. This is about the time that Keith and I decided we were going to tackle the main topic of the evening, or the main topic of the day at that time. And I'm not going to do it as well as he did it, but the used game market is ruining the games industry.
That was pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you gave it 100%, but it was still pretty good.
Okay, that's fair enough. But Keith did it multiple times, and he had it planned. I could tell by his
Right.
delivery.
Right.
So yeah, man, why don't you go ahead and start off? You guys, you listen to what we had to say. Um,
Yeah, I'm trying to think, trying to get a different angle on this, or at least
well,
because I don't want to
s-
rehash what you guys talked about.
all right. Well, start off with how the used game market and like I touched a little bit on like retro shops and things, right? Because there's some of those springing up here, and I imagine it's probably the same thing across the country. Like there are probably other cities that are starting to have these types of stores because people are just done dealing with corporate GameStop and whatnot.
Right.
What is it like in Japan where you're at? Are there stores that you can go into and buy and trade and
Yeah, yeah. I mean, almost essentially the same. Like, there's the shop that I go to. It's just the closest shop, but they also do like CD rentals in Japan are still a thing. Like, it's actually
what?
yeah. It's like basically Blockbuster still exists here.
That's
Like,
weird.
there's like three different chains that like all do really well,
Okay.
but they're brick and mortar Blu-ray, DVD rental, and CD rental places.
So
Um,
they have
like,
games
like
too?
I go to the store and like will rent Blu-rays like all the time.
Uh, And they have games too that you can rent?
Yeah, and then they have a separate section for video games used and new. I mean, they got
Interesting.
everything. They got yeah. So like you can go there and pre-order uh for nothing. They just hold, and usually you get like depending on the game, you get about like $10 off
Uh,
the
okay.
price. So
What's
I often do I often do that just to get the money off. Games are slightly more expensive in Japan because the manufacturer uh, has more power to
right,
uh, decide pricing than the retailer does. It's the opposite in America.
right,
You know, if someone said, "Hey, Red Dead Redemption, like we worked really hard on this game," or Rockstar says whatever, like this game is going to be $80, Amazon would say, "Fuck you, it's going to be 60.
right,
Otherwise, we're not going to carry it."
right.
Whether they have to bow to the retailer. But the other in Japan, it's the other way. So if anyone has ever been to Japan and you go to a store, like all the prices are different. It's like, why is this game $73 and this game is like 82 and this game is 55? It's just the manufacturers decided on prices and stuff.
Okay.
So I do not like pre-ordering, but I get around paying extra money for like new games and stuff. But in terms of used games, I mean, there's a lot. It's I think it's essentially the same as it is in the States, really, because games are expensive. I know that they're technically cheaper than they've ever been, but
Right.
I when it comes to Nintendo games, I almost always buy used because they never go on sale. And
What's the used markdown though? Because like Keith was talking about how he traded in Odyssey, right? And he paid what, £50 or £55 for it, and then when he traded it in, he got 45 back.
yeah, and I think another guy on said something along the same lines. Like he traded in 3 games and essentially got a new game for almost nothing. It seems like the trade in deals in the UK or at least England um, are way better. Oh no, I think he lives in Ireland, but
Well,
yeah,
I guess if he's in Northern Ireland, it's UK, right?
yeah. So yeah, I don't know if he lives in Northern Ireland, but yeah, I I don't know. Like, well, I don't know. How about you? Because I don't trade in games. I just keep them.
I do. It really
I
depends. So
don't
like,
like having physical copies of.
well, all right. So you know that I really enjoy owning physical copies of games, but
Right.
they're like if I'm looking through my stack of games, or like the games that I have for any given system, and I'm like I haven't played that shit in 8 months. I'm probably not going to play it again or whatever. Then I'll consider to trade it in. The what you get for trading in games is pretty low though, so I would say instead of trading in 3 games to get a new game, it's like five, and then you're
Mm.
spending like $5 or whatever.
And then you have to have 5 games you don't want anymore. And a lot of times that's not. You're not gonna play 5 games that you don't think you're gonna finish. Usually, most
Well,
people are pretty good at picking out what they like.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I really like the Technomancer, but I ended up trading that in.
You're just like I'm never gonna go back to this game. I'm fine not having it
No,
on my
like I had that
type of thing.
experience. I bought it used, so I was just trading it back in. Like whatever I
Right.
get out of this is who cares? Because I spent like $12 on the game.
Right. Um. So while I do like physical copies of games, another reason why I don't think it's history is I buy most of my stuff digital on my
Right,
US PlayStation account. Um, so while you can't buy used digital. I just often wait for a sale, which is essentially almost like buying a used copy because you're waiting for the price to get substantially lower and
right.
then purchasing it when you hit a flash sale or whatever. Like I kind of know when I'm gonna buy when I think a game is worth $60. It's like Spider-Man. I just bought that and I'm happy with my $60 purchase.
Yeah, I
But
think
there's a
you're
couple games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And like I want to play that game because I like the first two, but I am going to wait. I'm totally fine waiting 8 months and getting it for between $20 and $30
But Evan,
digital.
Square's not making the money they want on that game because of people like you.
So
Your feed slowed down a little bit. Hopefully it clears up in a minute. There we go.
I know. Would level 5 rather have me play or buy Nino Kuni 2 for $35 3 months after it comes out, or go down to the store and buy a used copy and they get none of that, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm not paying. Because if it's a game that I'm fine with waiting to play, then why would I pay more? I mean, I guess if it's like a small, if like a publisher or like a studio that you really like, it's like I want to give you that $60 or the full price because I want to support you type of thing. But
Right.
if you're not going to buy the game right away, uh, in 3 months it's going to be cheaper anyway. So just pay the cheaper price,
Yeah. I mean,
whether that's used or
I think
I don't know
anecdotally,
on
um,
sale on PSN.
and this is kind of what I touched on earlier was like sales at least on PSN and Xbox Live and stuff, weren't really a thing, right? Like Steam sort of perpetuated that. And
Hmm.
like the Steam sales, like PC was where you went to buy like deeply discounted games, digital
Oh, and
versions.
Steam's still even way cheaper than PlayStation Store.
Right, but at least Sony and Microsoft have started to catch up to that level.
Hmm.
You know, because I'm seeing stuff like I bought Titanfall 2 for $8 or some shit, and it was like the Ultimate
Yeah,
Edition, and it was a sale on
yeah, I think I
PSN.
did the same thing because I knew I was only going to play the single player for 5 hours. I'm like, I'm not paying that much money for that game, but
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
that's that's a specific case. But
well, it is a specific case, but I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that I could, if I paid more close attention to the types of sales that were happening all the time, that I would see, you know, similar games that were as deeply discounted or whatever.
right, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it. I don't think the used game market. I mean, it's been around for so long.
How do you feel um, about the intrinsic value of a physical copy?
Well, it's different now because at any time I could put my disc in, and then like I get firmware, and it's like, no, actually, you don't own you own a disc, but
Right.
it doesn't give you the right to play what's on it. Like they could just whoever could just stop me from that disc from doing anything.
Okay. Well,
So
that's something that we didn't bring up because we did talk a little bit about walled gardens and how publishers and the console manufacturers and whatnot have control over these things, right? Like I'm sure that I've lost Steam games. They're just gone from my library. But I couldn't tell you
yeah, right.
what games they were. I just know that like I remember, this game for whatever reason it's not in my library anymore.
Yeah.
You're
I mean,
saying
and that's not no, go ahead.
so your argument is it doesn't matter if it's on a disc because we've already gotten to the place where your system's checking.
Well, I'm saying that the intrinsic value of a game is higher for older games where that's not an issue.
Okay.
But I'm saying it's less now because although I do have a physical copy of the game, I can't necessarily put that game in 10 years from now and know whether or not it would still work because the company could just decide that I can't play it anymore. The disc wouldn't work unless I like keep unplug my PlayStation from the internet. Um,
Who's to say that if they hadn't if if you didn't unplug your PlayStation soon enough before whatever firmware update hit it that they didn't,
yeah, you
they
see the bar. No, just like literally pull the plug. Yeah, so I'm just saying games don't have the same amount of intrinsic value because there's the possibility that they could become worthless later. It's not like a Super Nintendo game that I guess as long as it's playable and in good condition, that you will always own that game and
right.
what you paid for beyond that.
Okay.
Not to say that's going to happen. I'm just saying there's a possibility that the disc that I own could be worthless, and it'd be the same thing as a digital copy of Spider-Man just being gone from my system. Just
Right.
because I own the disc means it doesn't mean anything. It's essentially the same thing.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I like the box and I can put it on my shelf, but other than there's a possibility in the future that discs won't work. So
So you don't trade in any games then?
no, I mean, to be fair, I buy most of my stuff digital because it's cheaper. Like the games in Japan, they're used. They tend to be more money.
Okay.
Um, so like I pre-ordered Spider-Man and it was like $70, but I got the $10 off, so it was 60. I was like, all right, it's the same price as if I was going to buy it on PlayStation Store,
Right.
but I prefer the physical copy, so I'm going to buy that. But most of the games I buy are in the U.S. PlayStation Store just because the deals there are way better than even the PlayStation or PSN Japan,
Okay. All right.
PlayStation Store Japan. Yeah, and the selection's different. So
That's
there's also that.
that's fair. So one of the things that I brought up was the Switch and their carts and how I have held off buying some games like on Steam or PSN or whatever because there's a physical version for Switch where
Hmm.
there's not always a physical version available for any other platform. Um, are you buying all of your games on Switch digitally too, or do you buy carts?
The only I always buy physical copies of Switch games. The only one I think I have that's digital is Runner 3, but that's because it didn't there was no physical release of Runner 3, so or at least in Japan, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, there's a physical release for it.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's no physical the game is not out in Japan, so I can't actually buy it, but
Okay.
all my other games, which is barely any games, um what do I have? I have Breath of the Wild, Odyssey, Bayonetta 2, Mario Kart 8, and Octopath. That's it. I
That
bought they're all physical copies.
okay. All right. Um, I'm trying to think how I'm gonna follow that up. Do you?
If there's a game that's on the Switch and PlayStation, I'm always going to go PlayStation because I don't use it the Switch in handheld mode, and it doesn't have any trophies. So it's like, why would I choose the Switch? There's no extra value there for me if it's a game that I can get on the PlayStation 4.
Okay. All right. I guess that's fair. What about smaller indie titles? Because like I love the fact that I can get smaller indie titles in a physical form,
Hmm.
whereas that's not available for other platforms, right? Like on PC or PlayStation or Xbox. Uh, I don't know. I guess do you share my same opinion that like if I can get it for the Switch and physical and there's really no difference between the two systems, is
Are
that
you
an
saying
appeal?
like are you saying that there's not a physical copy available on the other systems?
Yeah, well, maybe there is, but like Darkest Dungeon and Battle Chasers Night War, I haven't seen on shelves for any other system.
Oh, okay.
But I
Well, I
saw them
mean,
available for Switch, so I picked them up.
sure. Like the Messenger,
Yeah,
that the kind of Ninja Gaiden Metroidvania, 18-bit, 8-bit, 16-bit game side scroller.
it's a hybrid,
If I saw the physical copy in the store, I'd totally get it.
as
Um,
opposed to buying digital for other systems.
right. Some games, no.
Okay,
It just depends on how I feel. Like there are some games like I have Hotline Miami and Hotline Miami 2 digital, but I know for PS4 they have a
there's a
there's a physical copy that came out way later,
it's
and
both games,
it's a
right?
double pack.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And also the artwork on the front is like really badass, and I love Hotline Miami. Not so much Hotline Miami 2, but it's probably like top 20 games of all time for me. Hotline Miami 1.
Okay,
So in that case, I've purchased both games. I would happily buy a physical copy because I'd like to have one, and I think the art's cool, and I'd like to have it on my shelf. So
okay,
there's a bit of kind of like a like a collector tendency
right.
for certain games. Um, so like I'm but it's a game like oh wait, I can't mention it. There's a series of games that I like a lot, and I always buy the physical copies of those games.
Yes,
Uh, I
there's a know
I
that
would
game rule.
yeah. So I would not want digital copies of those games. I want the entire series in physical form. So yeah, there's specific situations where I will go out of my way to get physical copies of games.
Okay, all right, well that's fair. I had something else, and then you brought up the game that
I'm
we
gonna
shall not
just run the
mention.
yeah, fucking the Voldemort of video games. I'm gonna get a beer. Oh, by the way, I actually dressed up today. I don't know if you can read my shirt, but
Milwaukee. Nice.
It's
Uh, I can't see the bottom of it. I see
it's
Cheers.
appropriate. The city that made beer famous. That
Nice.
might be a bit much. I don't know about that. I mean, Milwaukee's known for beer and all, but might be taking it a little too far.
Did I ever share with you that news article? Um, uh, it was talking about um, like average percentage of people per capita and how much beer they drink.
We might have talked about this
Wisconsin, Wisconsin, the state is like top of the list. Like there's like 3 or 4 cities in Wisconsin that make the top 10 list out of all the cities in the United States.
Yeah, it really is like that. When you start naming your baseball team after people who
The
brew beer,
Brewers,
yeah, it's all
uh,
downhill from there.
right?
So my second beer is a limited batch of Ebisu, and I think this is an amber ale. And this
Interesting.
is a lot of times in fall. A lot of like amber beers, like even the big four will release limited fall editions of beers.
Right.
Uh, and so this is the Ebisu 2018 on top of the can. This is one of the most expensive of the big four beers, um, but it's really really high quality. Most of the other beers contain cornstarch, like Super Dry, even the Sapporo Black Label.
Yeah.
Uh, this does not contain cornstarch, so even if you drink a bunch of them, you'll have less of a headache than you would if you drank the same amount of the other ones. So
Okay. All right.
so
But
it's a bit
it's
more expensive.
similar to U.S. Pilsners, where they're like adjunct lagers. They've got corn and rice.
Um, this does not.
Okay.
It just says barley hops. That's it.
Nice. All right.
5.5%. Oh yeah, this is good. This is it's bitter, but it doesn't have.
Uh,
It's like a malty aftertaste. It doesn't have that like crisp bite of like an IPA or something like that. But
okay.
it's nice and bitter. It's smooth. I like this a lot.
So
It is a bit expensive, but
so Keith was drinking Hobgoblin. Are you guys can you get a hold of that in Japan where you're at?
strangely enough, the place that I went just to pick these up has all those beers
Nice.
for sale. There's like one called like Witchcraft. There's Hobgoblin. There's a couple of other ones. They sell them in the big, the what are they like 500 ml bottles?
Yeah, 5 or 550.
Yeah. So which is essentially like 16 ounces. It's like a tall boy basically.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
Um,
I got that wrong.
yeah, yeah. I can buy those, and I have had Hobgoblin before. That is a beer that you have one or two of. It's really really good, but it's really really heavy. And I'm a massive IPA fan, especially American IPA,
Right.
because I like the American style of a lot of craft beers where they turn the dial up to 11.
Right.
But sometimes
Just melt the
works
enamel
against
off your
you because
teeth.
you can't sit and have like three or four.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to
Um,
do that. Yeah.
but when I went back home, like I just was like drinking. I went to the discount liquor, which is like the biggest, most well known store in Milwaukee for their massive selection of beer,
Okay.
and it was just like it was so beautiful. I just like walked through the aisles and I was like, oh, there's so much beer. And so like every day I was going there and picking out something new. And in the beginning, I was hitting like the IPAs. There's like a couple. I was hitting like the mixed packs because I wanted to try as many styles of beer as possible before I came back to Japan.
Right.
And so one was like like all these crazy names. Craft beer companies, can you kind of slow down with the names? Like not every name has to be really fucking weird.
All right. So you
So
broke up a
I don't
little bit
really.
there. I didn't hear what name you had mentioned.
Oh, just craft beer companies in general. Like, they just slow down with the like not every beer name like name of beer has to be something weird.
Okay.
Just like they just trying to keep beating each other with the weird ass names. But I was having all these IPAs, and then after a while, I was like, man, I can't do this. And so I hit it so hard that I started going for amber ales,
Right. Okay.
and then I like fell in love with amber ales. It was like something that I kind of would buy every now and then.
Yeah, that's me.
But I had a lot of good amber ales while I was back home, and then I like was totally getting some of the lighter stuff, like lots of flavor, very complex beers, like not this heavy beer that it feels like you ate like a slice of Chicago style pizza
Right.
after you drank the beer. And so yeah, I started like for the rest of the trip, I was actually trying a lot of those beers, and I was yeah. So it's weird. I like got got into like a style that I liked, but I was just never like really sought out when I went to the store.
Okay.
So I'm happy that happened.
Nice. Yeah, I still, um, well, I guess, PBR is like my everyday drinking beer, but when I go out, I prefer if I can get it on tap, I'll get a local IPA or something like that. I'm trying to think if I've tried any other styles recently that normally I wouldn't drink. Um, yeah, I guess I didn't touch on this when I talked with Keith, but a lot of the stuff that's like local that's on tap that you can get readily is like a lot of IPAs. That just seems to be the de facto style that people want.
Yeah, it's huge in the states, and
Yeah,
it's like it's my favorite style of beer. And not all IPAs are heavy. Like it's a very like most styles are very versatile, and so you can get some heavy ones, you can get some lighter ones.
well,
Like session. There is such a thing as a session IPA,
yeah.
something that you can just slowly drink slowly, or it's smooth. It's not heavy.
You've
It's
had
just
you've had Founders, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've had that.
That's yeah,
It's
that
been. I
that's
don't
a
know if I had it this time around. In the past, I have.
but that's a session IPA. It's like 4.8%, I think, and really easy drinking,
I
low
was,
low bitter, low on the IBU.
yeah, yeah.
I think it's
So
funny though, that Keith was like, "Oh yeah, that Sam Adams IPA." I was like, "Rebel IPA," and he's like, "Yeah, you can get that here." But he doesn't like, and that's like his comparison for American IPAs. I would love to sit him down with like a Stone Ruination or something that's,
yeah,
because
yeah. You know what's funny though?
so much more bitter.
I don't. Yeah, it's like S- Sad Adams is like mass produced, like big chain. I don't actually. I don't like Sam Adams for the same reason as him because I hate the New England Patriots. So like I don't buy Sam Adams. When he said that, I was like, "Holy shit!" There is one more person. Yeah, that is the only reason why I won't buy Sam Adams.
Uh,
I even saw like a when I went home, there was like a mixed pack, and I like
right.
read and it was like a really nice variety of styles of beers. I'm like, man, that actually sounds pretty good. I was like, but
I
I can't buy it.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, Sam Adams does do. It's usually two of each too, so it's perfect if you're
Yep.
sitting down with somebody else to try these six varieties.
Yeah,
And they're
it
not
is.
bad too. It's like $15 for a 12 pack.
Mm. Yeah, but like you said, if he's basing what
American
if he's
IPA.
basing like American IPAs on Sam Adams, it's like no, dude, there is so much out there.
Yeah, like it goes even further into the deeply bitter, Yeah. So I thought that
Yeah,
was
but
interesting. But I mean, he doesn't
yeah,
like that style, so um
it's not like if you a lot of the English counterparts to the styles that or how do I want to say this what our beer tastes like and their beer tastes like what they like is kind of different. Like they're and I'm kind of painting with a slightly broad brush, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the beers in England are way more on the malty side
Okay.
than the bitter side. Like even some of the like I've had IPAs before, English IPAs, and they're light.
Okay.
Like they're very malty. And my friend, one of my friends, English, he went home and they have this giant. I don't remember the name of it. This giant uh, craft beer festival. So it's just like there's like 200 vendors you can go and try. And he brought the pamphlet home,
Right.
and like and they have everything labeled. It was like almost, I would say on average, every beer on that pamphlet was between like 3% and 4%.
Interesting. Okay.
But like all variety of styles. And so a lot of the beers that I've tried that he buys, like English beers, it's
Right.
like I see the style name, and so I'm just thinking about like, oh, I know what that tastes like. It's like whether it's
Right.
an amber ale or IPA, whatever. And then I'll try it. I'm like, oh wow, this is way lighter and more like nutty and malty than like I thought it was going to be. So maybe that's why it's
Okay.
not heavy on the like I said, the turn the hops up to 11
Yeah.
kind of take that we when we think like American Pale Ale or IPA.
So,
Maybe that's why.
one of the major companies out here that brews beer, Tenaya Creek, probably one of my favorite breweries. They have a nut brown ale that they do, which, like, until I started getting into all the different styles and varieties of beer, I used to think that Newcastle was heavy. And I don't know if you can.
Right. Have you ever gone back to it after you've
Well,
tried something
right.
that's different?
So yeah, the Tenaya Creek Nut Brown is it's similar in its flavor spectrum as like a Newcastle, but much heavier. And so like
Okay.
if you yeah, going back to drinking Newcastle, I'm like, holy shit, this is like watery. It
It's
seems watery to me now.
really watery. Yeah. Yeah, it does. I used to drink it when I was, excuse me, in my early 20s, and after started trying all these other heavier beers, I went back to it, and I actually didn't like it. I was like,
I,
I don't know
s-
about this. I could probably have one.
I still like it. I don't know. I like it in the same way that I like Heineken, um, or Stella.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, I just think a lot of those
they're
English styles are their flavor profile is a bit more mild.
it is, but it's not bad to go back to, I guess. Um,
Oh no, like and I like that they're different.
yeah,
If everything was like just let's just throw in as many flavors as we can and like you know turn the speakers up, and it's like you can't do that all the time. I like that there's a difference because then you just get more variety, which is always good.
have you ever had any lambic sours?
Yep, yeah, I had. I actually recently had a sour ale. I don't know what it was, but I think it was a Kyoto Brewing. I went there a weekend or two ago, and I had a sour, not a lambic, but um,
It's definitely a style that I want to see get more notoriety. Um, there was,
like, can you drink more than one, like in a sitting?
yeah, I think so. There's a
Okay,
there's
I'm
a
I'm like a one and done with that type of guy.
I don't know what it was. I'd have to look and find out, or go back to this particular bar that had it on tap. But they had a lambic sour that was, I want to say it was around 4%, and it was perfect. It was nice and light. It wasn't too sour. It had some citrus profile to it, so it met some of the stuff that I like about certain IPAs. It was easy drinking, but it wasn't too light. Um, yeah, I would definitely like to see more companies try to tackle that type of variety of beer and see what we could get
Yeah,
out of
I
it.
think yeah, it would be nice. I think some are just afraid of it. The
Yeah,
amount of people that like sours is definitely smaller than others, so they just win like making a sour or like experimenting with it.
right.
I like them, but if I go out and order a sour, I'll probably have one, and then move on.
Okay.
Like I'm fine with having one. I just think like I can't have two. Just like this the sourness is just something that I just can't continue to drink and drink.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else we want to? I've at the bottom of the overlay. I have Evan's rebuttal. So, is there anything else that you can think of from the episode that Keith and I recorded that you want to comment on or bring up or?
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. Uh, One thing is you said that you don't know how I
Yeah.
did the 999 power moons
Yeah, dude.
in Mario
Seriously,
Odyssey.
how the fuck did you do that, man?
I didn't
And
look
you're like, I
anything
didn't
up.
use a guide or anything.
Nope, nope. I didn't use a guide. Okay. I tell a small lie. The only thing I looked up, and it's what I thought it it was what I thought it was. Is do you know how after you beat the game, Peach can be found in like different some of the
Right,
other
right,
levels?
right. Yeah.
So I had found her in like five, maybe like three or four of the worlds, and I'm like, and if you go back to the Mushroom Kingdom, she's not there,
Right.
and like Toadette's like, oh, Princess Peach is traveling the world, and so I'm like, do I have to find her in every single world? And once I find her, then she goes back to the Mushroom Kingdom? And I was like, I'm just going to check to see if that's true, because I'm guessing I get like a moon out of it, because
Uh,
I didn't want to like go to each world and try to find her and have her not be there.
okay.
So I checked. Sure enough, it's like, yeah, once you find her in each world, then she goes back to the kingdom and gives you a power moon. I was like, okay, so that's what I thought it was. I just wanted to save myself some time. But all the other moons, there's like the parrot and the toad in the level that'll give you a hint to where a star is on the map, but it doesn't tell you how to get it.
Right.
Once I started getting up in like the 550 mark, then I was like, I can't just find these all by myself. So I got hints from the parrot and hints from Toad, which are in-game hints,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's part of the game. No, so I just cracked at it and like figured it out.
What's
That's why it took like 80 hours to do.
Okay,
Just
well
because you had to
that was
fucking
gonna be my next
yeah.
question was what the total hour count was to get to that point because I think I have um maybe 20 hours, 20 or
Okay.
25 hours,
Yeah,
and
it's
I've got 350 or 400 moons.
they get hard, man. They get fucking hard to find because you're just like
Well,
you got all C, and then you're like, where are they?
I'm already running into that though. I feel like
Yeah, yeah. Just
um
go to the parrot and go to Toad. They'll help you out. They'll mark them on your map, and then you got to figure out. But I still like is they'll mark them on the map, but there's no verticality to the map,
okay.
so you know the location of where it is, but you have no clue as like how to possibly like where like how to get it. It could be hidden. It could be underground. You might have to hit something to open something. That
Right.
that type of thing. And I like that stuff. I
Well,
like kind of poking and prodding the world to figure out where these things were.
yeah, my wife's actually pretty good about it because like I was sitting down to play and she was like, "Well, what are you doing? I thought you beat this." I'm like, "Well, I did. I got the credit roll, but like there's still fucking 600 moons that I gotta get, you know, almost 700 now." And she's like, "Well, what do you have to do?" And this and that. And I, went and talked to Toad and put it on the map. And she's like, "Well, look around and look up and So
Oh, okay, so yeah,
if I sat down with her, she would be able to direct me and be like, "Well, I think it's here," or whatever. And she's good about finding that kind of stuff out. So, um, but
right.
I don't know if I have the stamina to play it for 80 hours. Like I think I would just get frustrated at the end. Um,
There were some
I'm
frustrating ones.
still frustrated at Rabbit Ridge Tower. I still can't get through that.
Oh, the boss battles.
Yes, because
Yeah, that was super fucking that was frustrating. But just to keep I mean, you go in there with 6 life points, right? You don't go in there with 3.
well, I started doing that after I gave it 4 or 5 tries. And I was like, I
Right.
need fucking 6
Yeah, you need six. It's just you got to remember the attacks, and once you get good enough, you can kind of get through almost all of the four bosses without getting, or at least try to minimize your hits, and then
Yeah.
you get the fun. I don't know. Like at first, I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it, and then I just kept, put the controller down, tried again the next day, and eventually I did it. But what comes after that is way fucking harder
Wait, okay, so there's like
than
another boss battle at the after that?
no, it's not a boss battle.
Okay.
A fucking of platforming that if that you have to get through, and once you go all the way back to the start, I probably got at least 50 times
Okay.
to beat it.
You're cutting out a little bit.
But and I thought I wasn't going to be able to.
Your video's your video's
Kind
frozen and your audio's choppy. All right. Has it cleared up?
Let me give this a second because it's a bit slow. I can't hear you.
Are you still there?
Start up as well. I'm sure I'm.
You're still there, but just barely. I think we might have lost Evan. All right. I'm gonna give it 15 to 20, maybe 30 seconds. See if Evan's camera and audio rejoins us. If not, I'm gonna have to call it there, and we'll never find out what happens after Ruby Ridge Tower or Rabbit Ridge Tower. Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, this has been the Beerumverate. Hopefully, we'll be able to have both Keith and Evan on next time, and I plan on having special frames for everybody. So, like, I've got my American Eagle at the top there. The trumpets were obviously for Keith. I'll probably come up with something or use something else for Evan. Oh, there he is. Are you back? Yeah, I'm still here. And we're still streaming. I was just getting ready to kill the stream.
I can't hear you though.
You can't?
No, I can see your mouth move. You just said you can't, but for some reason I can't hear you. Wait, that's got to be on my end. What the fuck happened? Hold on, let me go in my settings. I know. I'm gonna blame it on the typhoon.
Yeah, it got really dark.
What's on here? Output. What the fuck? I think I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Output. Oh, no. Okay. Internal built in.
Can you hear me now?
Why? I can't hear you.
Okay.
Output device headphones.
Can you hear me now?
Makes for some good streaming.
Yeah. I'm gonna end the stream.
Select a device. Okay.
Alright, since Evan can't hear me, I'm gonna go ahead and kill this right now.
What the fuck happened?
And
Typhoon.
we'll see you guys next time.
Storms. This never stops. Can I go on a rant for a little bit? Actually, Japan has like really fucking shitty weather, like almost all year round. I would rather go through a blizzard in Wisconsin than stay here in this awful weather. The seasons in Japan, okay? Since I can't hear you,
Yeah,
I'll figure this out while I'm talking. The winter. Hey, 文句言ってんの。悪口ばっかりじゃない。どっかもう言って。Okay, so in winter, it's not as cold as Wisconsin, but there's no fucking central heating. So I have like one unit in my house in the living room. So when I go to take a shower and I get out, it's fucking ice cold because there's no vents that are pouring heat into my apartment. So my so then I have a couple months of that, and then spring comes around and it's decent, and then it starts fucking raining all June. When that stops, all the mosquitoes come alive, and then it gets mucky and humid, and you just like sweat for and possibly die from heat exhaustion for a couple months, and then after that, like then there's an earthquake when you're on the train, and you're stuck on a train for 2.5 hours.
can you hear me now?
Yes, I have no idea what happened.
Okay,
And then after that,
you can't hear me.
yeah, I can. I plugged my my earbuds into the Yeti
Oh,
instead of my
all right,
my
okay.
MacBook. I
Well, I just sent you a
have no idea what
message.
happened.
I'm gonna go grab a beer. I was gonna let you rant for a while, so you're
Oh,
more than
if
welcome
you
to
would have
do
left, I
that.
would have kept going. I just I just would have kept going. I was like, I assumed like you're maybe yeah, just I didn't want to hear it. Going for a smoke or grabbing a beer.
We are still streaming, so this is all part of
Yeah,
it. Um,
yeah, just go, dude. I'll carry the stream for like 2 minutes.
all right, fair enough. I'll be right back.
All right, I should preface this with at least that's not all of Japan because Kyoto in particular is surrounded by like a horseshoe shaped mountain range on the left, right, and on the east, west, and northern parts. So basically, you have most of Kyoto kind of nestled in this horseshoe shaped mountain range, and just what that does is just traps all the humidity into that area, and it's like fucking Stephen King's The Dome or like Crisis 3, where there's this it just feels like there's this giant dome over the entirety of Kyoto, and it's just the humidity is building and building and it doesn't stop. This sounds like I'm probably laying it on pretty thick, but if you've never been to Kyoto in the summer, like the dead of summer, July, August, you don't know. The humidity is absolutely ridiculous. So finally, when fall comes around, then like it's typhoon season from September to October. So then you just got to deal with that. And then after that, you get back into the winter, and then you're running out of the shower as quick as possible into the only room that has an AC, so that you can not be cold. So yeah, there's the weather. Uh, I mean, I'm I'm half kidding. It's like I've lived here for 7 years, so obviously it's not that bad. At least I don't have to shovel, which was something I had to do when I was a kid living in Wisconsin. Wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and shovel the driveway so the cars could get out. When you get home, you can't even see the driveway anymore because the snow has covered it again. Shovel that. Then around dinner time, probably have to shovel again because you can't let the snow keep piling up, and just the snow gets heavier and it takes longer to do it. So you have to constantly be doing it, and then shovel one time before you go to bed, and then you have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to start shoveling again, and rinse and repeat. So if you want to compare that to with everything I just said about Kyoto's weather, then maybe it isn't so bad. At least in the winter, you can just put a bunch of layers on. But the summer here, it's like you can take everything off and it's not going to help. You will be sweating your ass off constantly. And actually, this summer was like one of the hottest summers in recorded history in Japan. Or I think one city had the highest recorded temperature ever in Japan sometime this summer. Uh, but actually, Burkoff lives in Nevada, so I'm sure he's used. So I think it's a dry heat. actually gonna hop onto YouTube here. Check this out. Um, Actually, after this, I kind of want to briefly go back into talking about Octopath Traveler because while we talked about how the game works, we didn't really talk about what we think about it. And I'd actually like to talk about that.
All right, so I did take that opportunity to have a quick smoke.
Okay. Um, I just ran out of things to say, so
Perfect timing then.
yeah. So I'm over that whole rant about the weather. But sorry
Dude,
about that. Getting back into Mario Odyssey.
yeah, so I'm at Rabbit Ridge Tower. It's driving me nuts. I do get the six hit point upgrade because there's no other way to get through that, I don't think. Um, yeah, it's infuriating. But you're saying that there's a more difficult boss or a more difficult thing you have to do after you complete that?
Yeah, it's basically like it's like a decathlon, and you have to like go through like basically the hardest. Take everything you've learned from the entire game, and it puts every single platforming skill to the test for like a
Oh,
super
okay.
fucking long time. And if you die, like accidentally slip and fall off, like one mistake, and it's like you get back to the start, try again.
So, all right, what I've been doing is like I'll try a run through Red Ridge Tower. Usually fail. After I fail, I get frustrated. I'm like, all right, let me go find some more freaking moons because there's
It's really dark.
1,000 of them, right? And
Excuse me. Technically, there's only 990.
might as well be 1,000.
Wait, let me quick grab a beer and turn my lights on. I didn't realize it was so dark in here.
All right.
야, 예? 한분冗談で言ってるよ.冗談で言ってるよ. Sorry. So yeah, so there's like there's like 1,000 moons. So what you've been doing is
I'll do a run through Rabbit Ridge Tower. Usually fail. After I fail, I get frustrated. I'm like, okay, let me go look for some more moons. And one of the tasks that you have to do is the Koopaling or whatever. Not Koopaling. What are the shell duck dudes?
Koopa Troopas.
Okay, Koopa Troopas. When you do the races with the Koopa Troopas.
Oh yeah, which is basically it teaches you like advanced platforming skills.
Right, but I get frustrated on those too. So like, there's a few of those that I can't do.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hate racing stuff. I hate timed stuff. It like in games I get really anxious and it bothers me, but for some reason with those, because there's always one really good Koopa Troopa, so you have to
Well,
kind of monitor what he does and kind of
yeah.
do the same.
So the one at the Mushroom Kingdom, I've come within like a tenth of a second a few different times.
Oh really?
Yeah, and it's like Jesus Christ.
It is super frustrating.
I almost want to see if it's possible to get the moped, but I imagine it probably like when
Oh,
you
okay,
jump.
yeah, there is a moped there, isn't there?
I imagine when you jump into the race, that probably resets all that shit. But if
It
there was,
probably does.
but if there's a way you could like set the moped down, cue the race up, and then jump on the moped, I would be able to do it without a problem.
Yeah. There are a couple of those races where actually don't follow what he does, and there's like other ways to get through the level so quickly that you can beat them by like 20 seconds or
Well,
something.
that's the hat world, the black and white one, the first world that you.
Is that one of them?
Yeah, like you
I remember
totally
doing that.
you jump off the tower, and if you if you try to follow if you try to follow them across the bridge and like keep up with them, I couldn't do it that way. But if you veer off and uh, you don't go into the clouds, but pretty damn near close, and you just like totally just take a direct path towards where you need to go,
Okay.
you can get there with plenty of seconds to spare.
In the Luncheon Kingdom too, where the race is like way more vertical. and there's a couple things like you can hop, like kind of cheese or not cheese it, but just go a different route and get there like way quicker than him. But
Right.
yeah, I like that stuff. You know, I don't know what it is like. And I think partly the reason why I played it so long is I think Odyssey is the best, hands down, the best 3D Mario game ever.
I would agree with that.
Oh, okay, you will, because a lot of
It's
people would not. They'll
no,
say
it's
Galaxy or yeah.
I hated Galaxy, and mainly because of the Wiimotes. If they
Oh,
if they
preaching to the choir.
if they found a way to port Galaxy to the Switch and use normal controls,
Hmm.
I'd be down for that, and it would probably be a much more fun game to play. But like the dolphin races and shit,
Shit sucks.
yeah, it's
I hated that fucking level.
so hard with the Wiimotes.
I'd rather play a Mario game where all it was is the Koopa Troopa races than fucking do that thing one more time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that shit. It's just like I'm just sitting there with this stupid remote, like remote. How old am I? 80.
Wiimote,
Uh, Wiimote and nunchuck. Those just dumb names anyway.
Joy-Cons.
So like I'm doing this and like as I'm playing, like my hands are like magnetizing together because I just want to hold a fucking controller.
Right, right,
Looking at these things, and I'm like holding this thing like such an idiot. Or like there's those races where you're on a giant ball
right,
and you're
right,
timed.
right.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, and I'm just like doing this. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Like this game sucks. And it doesn't suck. Both the games are really good, but
It's a really good game for integrating that stuff into it, but yeah,
it's just like
it's totally
yeah,
unnecessary to do a
yeah.
good Mario game.
Like, if I had a controller, these games would be way better. And I know a lot of people complained about, like Matt on Sifted, he didn't like Odyssey because he thought it's like, oh, you turn around and there's a moon, and you butt stomp a lump and there's a moon, and it's like, well, the initial handful of moons, yeah,
First 10 hours, yeah, they're giving out like candy. But
but I
but
think
you
that criticism
still
is like it's really reductive and it's only skin deep because
so
like the challenge comes after those moons go away.
yeah, so one of the things that I noticed is that Odyssey does use sort of a traditional Japanese design philosophy to it, in that
Yeah,
when you run through the game and you beat Bowser and get the credits, and then you go back to those levels, there's shit in different places and stuff that you never noticed, right? So it's
yeah,
similar to like what they did with Final Fantasy VI, where it's like the reverse world, where it's the same world but like not really.
right.
I feel like they did that with Odyssey. Maybe I just was completely oblivious the first run through, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff that does get changed up the second time you run through the worlds.
Yeah, they slightly changed that stuff. Yeah, it's just yeah. I love the style of you get into a world and you just poke and prod it, almost in like Zelda in a way, like just seeing what works and not to find moons. And it's not like jump into a painting. And Galaxy was the same way too. So was Sunshine. You jump into like a world. You're like, okay, here's the star or the sunshine or whatever, and it gives you like a hint of what you're supposed to do.
Right.
But it's not like a puzzle because it's more the style of what what it takes to get each star is similar to a level. It's very linear. Now you can kind of run around this kind of slightly open space, but the goal is the same.
Right.
The flagpole is the star at the end of it,
Right.
and you almost kind of always know what to do. It's essentially you're always propelling yourself forward in almost like a side-scrolling level, but this time in 3D. And then you get the star, and then it kicks you out. And a lot of people criticized Odyssey. You know what? Everyone's different. People might just they like that style of more kind of level-based star getting.
Right.
But I liked that it didn't kick you out, and you were able to kind of poke and prod this really compact but really dense these dense levels. I like that style. So to each their own, but there's something about that drew me towards it, and I liked it more.
Yeah, and when you first get to the Mushroom Kingdom and you find the painting portals that take you
Yeah,
to, because I remember going through like the first time through the game, you see like these platforms and things that it's impossible to get to. Like, how the fuck do I get up there?
Oh yeah, just like looking up this floating island. You're like,
Yeah, like there's no way. They're like invisible bricks or something that I have to try and find, and then
yeah, or like, is there like a rocket I have to capture, like a secret
right,
rocket that's gonna take me up there? Yeah,
yeah, and then yeah, you get to the end, and then you're like, you find your first painting that you jump through, and it takes you. You're like, holy shit! Oh, okay, now it all makes sense.
yeah. I loved all that stuff. I don't know. I might be slightly out there. Some people and most people won't agree with me, but like my top three 3D Mario games, it's Odyssey, Super Mario 3D World,
Okay,
and then the third one is probably Super Mario 64, I guess. And a lot of people don't like Super Mario 3D World, but I think it is the perfect combination
of 2D
of
and 3D.
2D and 3D.
Now,
That
see,
game's amazing. If that they haven't ported that to the Switch yet. I think
no, so new.
they haven't released any information on there. Yeah,
No, yeah, new Super Mario Brothers U is going to be uh, ported. 3D
and
World,
packaged with the
right,
Luigi Brothers one,
right.
which is an amazing game.
Okay,
I think that new Super Mario Brothers Wii U Deluxe game is
right.
worth the purchase for the Luigi Brothers.
Alone.
That game is it's fucking good. It's so challenging because it only gives you 100 seconds per level,
Well,
and so you're
that's
just
interesting.
rushing. Yeah, so it's like Super Meat Boy in a way, where like you know how the classic
Yeah.
it does it at the start of every single level,
Okay. All
and
right.
at first it's really difficult because Luigi is really floaty, but once you get used to the controllers, you can kind of use that to your advantage to like
Is
get area like really difficult platforming areas like really easily if you continue your momentum. And when you get through a really difficult level, like you feel so awesome, and it's super challenging.
is he
It's
floaty? Is he floaty in the same way that he's floaty in the American Super Mario Brothers 2?
yes, that type
Weird.
of floating.
Okay. All right.
And you know it's interesting. I know you were gonna talk about something, but just very quickly. And you'll die a lot. You will die a lot. It's like Super Meat Boy. You just
Okay.
keep dying and dying and dying. But the levels are short enough, and you start quickly enough that it's like you can just it. You're not gonna get frustrated, or at least it'll keep you in like I'm gonna do this type of mode.
Right. Like you can
Um,
do it like 5 or 10 times without getting
yeah,
too
and
frustrated.
so I bought that first, and I played through that, and I was like, wow, I totally did not expect to like this game this much. And after that, I was like, oh well, they had the regular one that came out when with the launch of the Wii U, the new Super Mario Brothers U. So I bought that. The map is exactly the same, but and the map is the same. The amount of the number of levels I think is the same, but they're all in the Luigi version. They're all switched up
So
to
they're like remixes of the
yeah,
same. Okay.
essentially. But I played that game. I got so used to how Luigi controls that
Yeah.
when I went back to the old one, it was really difficult for me to use Mario.
It'll
And I was
be.
like, this
It'll be.
so much so I'm like, this game isn't challenging and like the levels are longer. I was like, I don't really like this. I stopped playing it. That's how much I love the
It'll.
Luigi Brothers
It'll be
3D version.
interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they make you play through um, Super Mario Brothers U first before you unlock Luigi U.
Uh, I would, s- I think that'd be a terrible choice, but Nintendo, you never know.
Yeah, it's Nintendo. That's why I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
a
Yeah.
very real possibility with them.
One reason I would say absolutely not is just because since they're the exact same world with the exact same bosses,
Right.
although remixed, it would be asking a lot for you to play through the entirety of the game and then go back to it. Okay, it's the exact same thing, exact same um, levels, but slightly remixed type of thing.
But when they were originally released, though, they were about a year apart, though, right? The two games.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
no, it was about. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, the year of Luigi was either 2013 or 2014, and
right, yeah, the games came out approximately a year between each other. So
okay.
I think the idea behind that when they did release Luigi U, new Luigi U, was that it's for people that have already played through Mario U.
That's what they get for these terrible naming conventions. You're like we've stumbled through it every single time we brought it up.
So, all right, yeah, I was gonna say like 3D World. I've only played about 15 or 20 minutes of that game. Like I haven't really played a whole lot. I played it at a demo kiosk at Best Buy.
You said 3D World?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's great.
that game almost got me to buy a Wii U console.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if that almost got you to buy it, yeah, like that game has to be announced within the next year. I almost guarantee it.
I
They're
don't. S-
slowly porting
Yeah,
everything. You got Captain Toad, which is an amazing game.
definitely one that I want
Uh,
to pick up. I haven't gotten it
yep.
yet, but yeah.
The only reason I didn't repick it up is because they like took out a bunch of levels, but only added four. I was a bit disappointed in
I
that.
thought it had more content overall.
No, they took out all the 3D World levels, but they only added four new ones from Odyssey. And I was like, oh, that sucks because the levels aren't long. They're actually pretty quick to finish. So I'm like, I'll wait for a sale, even though there'll never be one.
Not for a Nintendo game. It's
So
gonna
I'll
be.
have to buy it used. I bought Breath of the Wild
But
used.
even all right, so even used though, what are you gonna get? Like $2 off to $5 off,
Maybe $5 off. Yeah. Do you know
like
like
at most.
Yoshi's Woolly World
Yeah,
and Pikmin 3 used at my local game store are still like $35.
yeah, I know. I totally believe that because that's the
Yeah.
way Nintendo games are here too.
Yeah. And I go in there, I'm like, oh, it's not cheap enough. I'm like, I should just buy it because it's not going to get cheaper.
You know,
It's not.
I don't think so. I've had a couple of guys from Sifted have mentioned Xenoblade to me, Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah. Xenoblade. Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I would play it, but I'm not gonna spend $60 on that game because I don't think that I'm gonna get through it. Like I might get 10 to 30 hours at most, right?
And you're not spending 60 hours to play half the game.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and I think I don't think I'll be engaged as much with the game or enough with the game that I'm gonna get through it. So why spend the money? But
Hmm.
even used right now, it's still like $55.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like why? Yeah, but it's a Nintendo game. It's a first party
Yeah.
Nintendo game. So
No, I mean, I get all the reasons why they do it. I just don't agree with them.
yeah,
But anyways, yeah, 3D World. It's one of my favorite. A lot of people don't. I don't know. I don't know why they don't like it. I think it's the perfect amalgamation of uh, both styles of Mario games.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's
Um,
it's
I can't
hopefully it gets
imagine
ported soon.
I can't imagine that they won't. It doesn't make
They
sense
have
that they
to.
wouldn't. I don't think
They're
enough
porting
people.
everything slowly.
Yeah, I don't think enough people played it. You know, I'm sure that we'll
No,
see. I'm sure that we'll see re-releases of. We'll probably see a re-release of Ocarina of Time. We'll probably see a re-release of other more prominent games that Nintendo's got in their catalog that have seen other re-releases on other systems, like Wind Waker.
yeah, it's interesting. Like you would think, like, oh, they can't port Skyward Sword, but it's like, no, they can because you can use the Joy-Con for motion controls, right?
Yeah,
But
theoretically you
I
could.
would actually tell people don't if they port Skyward Sword, don't buy it because that game fucking sucks. It is
You're
the
def
worst.
you're definitely not
I think it's
alone.
worse than the CDI games. I think it might be worse than the Zelda
I
CDI games.
I wouldn't go that far.
I fucking hated that game. I beat it, I hated it.
Have you beaten the CDI games though? That's the question.
No, I've actually never played them.
Alrighty,
All
sir.
right, yeah. So
We're running up on about the same time marker that Keith and I went. So,
yeah, that's fair.
do you have any closing comments or anything else you want to add?
Um, I don't remember what other ways you guys are trashing me. Um,
Well, I was talking about I was like I don't know how the hell this guy puts so much time into games.
oh, you're like, how the hell did he get through 70 hours of Octopath in like 3 weeks or whatever?
Right?
I mean, I did buy the game like July 13th or whatever, so
Right.
and I went back home, so I played it on the plane and stuff. But no, like yeah, when I play games, I hit it pretty, and I only play a single game, and I'll
Right.
play them in huge chunks, like 6 hours straight, 7 hours straight on the weekends, 10 hours straight.
Okay.
So when you go at that rate, you yeah, I tend to do that. Like with Spider-Man, like yeah, I think I got the platinum trophy in that game in about 8 days maybe.
Jesus, dude.
I just went at it. Still worth $60, but
I've heard that the platinum in that game is actually really easy to get.
oh, it's
Most
really easy.
yeah.
Insomniac games have always been easy. All the Ratchet and Clank games, at least the ones that have been released for the PlayStation 3 and 4, I've platinum all those.
Okay.
And this is like a tip of the hat or doff of the hat to Insomniac. They know how to do platinum trophies. It's like just enough that you do have to go out of your way for several parts of it, but
Okay.
they're not impossible. They're not going to tear your hair out. And they're fun trophy, they're fun platinums to get, and it extends the life of the game. So like usually to get all the Ratchet and Clank trophies, you have to beat the game at least twice or 2.5 times
Okay.
because you have to keep upgrading all your weapons and stuff. But it's just fun. It's not like all these insane like Wolfenstein 2. You can't die once,
Right. Right.
and it's like who the fuck is gonna do that? Like fuck that. Instead of chasing the platinum trophy and playing the game for an extra 5-10 hours, I'm just gonna stop playing it after it's done because I can't do that. Who's gonna
Yeah.
do that?
Well, it's like
And then this way, yeah.
the only game that I've even gotten close to getting the platinum on is The Witness. And you and I have talked about this before. When I figured out what you actually have to do to get the platinum, I was like, "Fuck that."
Yeah, see, there you go. Yeah, The Witness. Yeah. See, that
Um,
sucks. That sucks. You know.
and it's crazy too. So like Dragon Age Origins, no, not Origins, Inquisition. My wife has probably put 200 to 300 hours into that game. It is nowhere
Wow.
even close to getting the platinum. I'm like, how is that even possible? Like, you've played this game so much. She's had like 3 or 4 different characters. She's romanced everybody. She's done every storyline, played every
Like,
class.
have you ever looked at like what percentage she's at?
I'll have to look. She's pretty damn close though. She's probably like 70 or 80%, but
That's some of
still
those
like
trophies are like insanely arbitrary.
right
You know,
and yeah,
oh, get 5 headshots in 10 seconds. It's like, oh, fuck off. Like Uncharted's like that. There was one trophy in Uncharted. It was like stealth a guy, then punch a guy, shoot a guy with an AK, and then blow up a guy with a grenade in that order in
right.
under 30 seconds. I'm gonna find the guy who fucking thought of that trophy and go to his house and
Punch
knock on
him.
his door and have a long conversation with him.
Uh,
So,
uh,
just
yeah,
weird shit like
I
that. I
feel
bet you she's probably missing some of those like really weird trophies. I don't know what the trophy list looks like for that game, but
yeah, I'd have to look at it. I have no idea either, but
you would think just like through attrition, right?
well, yeah, exactly. Like eventually, like you'll at least
You
my
get it.
my thought process is that if you're playing the game that much, right? Like you should just hit the platinum eventually, right?
Yeah, instead of this being like an automated thing, there should be like a Sony headquarters or like people watching people play. And he just is like watching your wife play. He's like, you know what? He presses like the platinum trophy button. He's like, you get the platinum trophy. You fucking deserve it. And just push the button like sweet. Watch
Right.
it pop up. Yeah.
Alrighty, sir.
But, yep, I guess that's it.
We'll go ahead and end the stream, and this has been episode 1.5. Evan's rebuttal to Keith's and I's discussion earlier today about the used game market and every other topic that we came up with today.
That was good. I'm glad to be on. I'll be on again.
Yeah,
We didn't really trash Keith at all this episode.
how could you
How
trash him?
could you trash Keith? He's such a nice man.
Right?
Yeah. Although that room he was in was like really fucking dark. Like, you could probably Keith, you could probably turn like a light on. Just one light.
I liked the He did that.
terrible.
He,
Like
he
I
did
would
that
like.
number for a minute. It was like all dark and
Oh no,
ominous.
yeah, yeah. I was doing. I pulled the keys, and then I realized I have like light switches in my house, and I
Yeah.
turned it on. Yeah. All
Alrighty.
right. Yeah.
For
So
Beerumverate episode 1.5, we're out.